the second worst absolute clap of all time.
See, on mine, it showed it as exactly the same time. So from my end, that was like the most perfect clap of all time, and you're like, it's garbage. This is stupid.
It's more of a projection than it is anything else. When we get together on Sundays, we throw a TNA episode out there, and I got to be honest with you, I want nothing but perfection from us, T Dizzle, which is what I'm going to call you for the rest of this podcast.
T Dizzle?
I don't know. It just came out.
That's...
Let it roll around in your head. See if it feels any good.
I like it. I mean, I think T-Dog has happened a few times. Yeah.
Well, T-Dog is like, there's a PJ Chief that goes by T-Dog.
Oh, yeah, I'm out.
Very, very famous PJ Chief, by the way. He had a couple big missions. So, but he retired, so you can take his moniker.
No, is it weird when you say that? I'm like, I don't want to be famous, and then I'm like, hey, YouTube, I don't want to be famous. Here I am putting out content.
I don't want to be famous, but also everybody follow us on our Instagram. Go check us out at Onesready on Trent's page or on my page. Go, you can see he was already sipping on that hoist, so you can use our code Onesready basically everywhere. By the way, Hoist is coming out with new packets. You guys need to get hit these news packets. They're like this big. They taste amazing. They mix up right away. You can throw them in your kit. They're fire.
About
the kids.
About how many inches is that? Would you say?
For me, like, I don't know. I can't. We should just go on.
Let's move forward.
We should just move forward.
Well, I recently, so everybody knows, we recorded one earlier today, and I'd just come off a weekend event, so I had to take a shower. After I got out of the shower, I decided to put in the Outer Eggs pomade. Oh, that's right.
That's so good. I'm trying to do this thing
so
where I'm
long.
using Outer Eggs to, like, make my hair not look like it's actually Outer Eggs, like it's in regs. I'm using it for its express purpose, so that I can go this entire time without a haircut.
Oh, dude. It's getting out of control.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
Did I tell you about the time I got caught with too long a hair coming home?
No, please do.
So I went like a whole deployment without cutting my hair. I had like a wicked mullet thing going on. And like, so like all my hair though was like super long. And I made it all the way to Al-Udeed. And then some officer caught me because I was racked out in the bunk. And my hat, it was wintertime, so I was like wearing a beanie and like shoving all my hair up underneath it. And I think it was like a stow or somebody was like, that dude needs a haircut because my beanie had come off while I was sleeping. Otherwise, I would have made it all the way back home. But so I just cut it like around my ear, like the outline.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that is some young guy stuff to do. Like, oh, you told me to get a haircut. I know what your intent is. Let me just do the bare minimum.
Just cut that like rat tail off the back, But
just the bare minimum. Did I ever tell you about the Mustache Game?
No.
Chief Cox? So Chief Cox, podcast alumni, no big deal. What's up to Chief Nate Cox? He's awesome. He's down in San Antonio as we speak. So we were playing the Mustache Game, and the Mustache Game went like this. Grow your mustache out. It can be as wild as possible, but the first time that somebody calls you for having a mustache that is too long, you have to shave it. So essentially how you won the game is that you had your mustache for the longest, right? So everybody, the amateurs will start off and they'll have like this really like way out of regs, and somebody like some E4 will be like, nah, go shave that right away. What you do is you start off and you keep it, tight, keep it in regulations. And then when people start to notice that you have a mustache, you let it grow out a little bit more, to where now it's like, so I had a full-on Fu Manchu, right? So there we are, we're in Iraq. There used to be this good chow hall, but the good chow hall was right next to the jock. For people that don't know, the jock is like where all the higher-ups work, like all of the bosses work in the jock, right? Like
yep.
If you're not living in a tent, you're working at the jock. Anyway, so sure enough, we go to this chow hall because they had the better food. And I'm sitting there, and some bald guy in PT here comes over and goes, hey, who you with? So I kind of told him, and he goes, okay, cool. Mustache Game? I was like, yep, Mustache Game. He goes, do me a favor and shave it. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, well, I won. I was like, so I will. So the next day I go into it. We'd gotten turned down on alert, right, the next day. So we went on another field trip. We're like, oh, man, we're going back to the good chow hall. So, no kidding, the guy walks up to me, and, like, I hear him from behind. I recognize his voice. He was like, hey. And I turned around, and I was clean-shaven. He was like, hey, man, I really want to say thanks. And he fist bumps me. And I kind of, like, looked down, and I looked at his uniform, and it was the JSOC Sergeant Major.
Oh.
So like all of his little lackeys kind of behind him, and then that was like our thing. Like he'd be like, "Oh, what's up there, PJ?" He's like, "Man, you guys are on point. As soon as I asked you to get in regs, that was a cool thing that you got." He's like, "You guys don't play around, professionals." But all of his little lackeys, like every day, would just be like, "Who is this guy? Who's the guy that the sergeant, the JSOC sergeant major says hi to every day?"
Why does he want to talk to you? And how come he's not screaming?
No idea, right? But you would see like his little like lackeys and stuff. He had a bunch of like E6s and E7s that would follow him around, and like literally they'd be like, "Who is this guy? Is that Jason Bourne?"
Maybe.
I would just laugh.
Jason Bourne that knows how to shave.
Yeah. It was mainly just because he was just like, "Hey, idiot, go shave your face."
Well, I mean, you know you're out of regs. So, I mean, it's not a big deal.
100%.
So, like, when you take it that far and someone tells you to do something, it's like, yeah, okay. Like,
Well, it was almost like a badge of honor, too, because I looked at my controller and I was like, "Got you." I was like, I knew I would beat you on this one, Vic. I knew that you would not be able to keep up with me on this Mustache Game, but that was it. The mustache had to go, but this haircut will have to go, too, once I go back to the real world, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to go home, and I got a Chief Master Sergeant, Jared Petrus, that will not tolerate any nonsense.
man, I heard that dude runs a tight ship. Yeah, lots of knife hands.
Tight.
You get cut.
Right, he fits a lot of anger in a small package. My grandma Kilroy used to say back in the day, "Good things come in small packages, but so does poison."
Oh, dang. That's one of the best quotes I've ever heard.
I know. Well, because she's this little Irish woman, right? I mean, she was seriously like 5 feet tall tops. Like my mom too. My mom's like 5'1", 5'2" tops. But she always used to say that. She'd say, "You know, Aaron, good things come in small packages, but so does poison. So watch out." Like, okay.
Dang. It's like, yeah, Mom. Sorry.
Jeez. Sorry. So, yo, what about them fights though?
Dude, I was just going to bring it up. Thug Rose. She's crazy.
Thug Rose. I don't know why. Joe Rogan. It's good to see that dude like talk about crying. I had goosebumps when they put that belt around Rose's waist and she was just like, I followed Rose since she won the first one and obviously lost it. The loss to Ioana and getting spiked on her head and all this other stuff. Unbelievable. When she threw that head kick, it was electric. There was only 3 of us that got up yesterday at 3 a.m. So I don't know when this is going to drop, but, we dated ourselves a little bit there. So podcast rule number 1, we just broke it. But
oh, no.
There was only 3 of us. Oh, no. They got up at 3 a.m. So, it was me, another PJ, and one of the military working dogs handlers that came over. But we were jumping out of our seats. Like, it starts off Weidman with that terrible leg break. The guy basically, Crute had to basically, have a doctor stoppage because of the nerve damage off that leg kick. Like, Anthony Smith is no joke. And, man, the entire card, the prelims were fire. And then to have that main card, all 3 championship fights, none of them went the distance. A knockout, a stoppage, a TKO. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, did anybody have a better night last night than Trevor Whitman?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Like that's nuts. Like and I love Greg, but like if you want to take like a gym that won last night, and he only has like 4 fighters, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 4 or 5 fighters tops that are in the UFC, and yeah, good for him. I'm not mad. Jackson Wink has a firm legacy behind it, and Greg Jackson, obviously, on the podcast before, no big deal. Podcast alumni, Greg Jackson, an all-around good dude. He's gonna have more world champions, and John's gonna figure out his title fight. So, we'll see what's up. But yeah.
But more importantly, Greg likes my terrible segues, so he's one of my favorite people I've ever met.
He really does. I was texting him the other day, and we were just BSing about random stuff, and I literally brought up because it was when I was doing one of the YouTubes, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming up for something to say about Trent's terrible segues." He was like, "Don't you ever say that. Segues are beautiful." I love your segues so much.
Yeah, I mean, I just see a brick wall coming, and I make a hard turn. I'm like, I don't know how to do this gently, guys.
Everybody better hold on to your shorts because this thing is going hard.
Well, I'm not letting off the gas. I'm just go.
It's like, Mario Kart. I don't know what button breaks on Mario Kart. Why would I?
No.
I know how to drift and I know the gas. That's it.
That's it. I mean, you don't need anything else. That's the way the game is played. I did actually. I was thinking about it before we jumped on, and because the fights were last night, I wanted to ask you, Who is your favorite mixed martial artist of all time? Or you can give me like a top 3. You can do a top 3.
Yeah. Who's my favorite mixed martial artist of all time? So I grew up when I first started watching. I think I told somebody this the other day. I've got a really close friend that was my first supervisor when I got in the Air Force, and we texted last night. But I bet UFC 25 was the very first UFC that we watched together. Like, we were watching UFCs before Tough was a thing. Like, before this thing, like UFC in the 20s, right? We have texted or called or been physically present every single one, and we're on UFC 261. He and I were live texting during the thing last night. So I grew up with.
What was the main event on that one?
25.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd have to look. That'd be interesting actually to look. But I mean, this was like, even before the Tito Ortiz rivalry, before Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. I mean, this was at the time of like. I remember watching, Matt Serra. When Matt Serra won the belt, which was a crazy thing, and then him getting knocked out with that spinning back fist, which was nuts.
That was Shoney Carter, right?
Yeah, Shoney Carter. Yeah, with the spinning back fist. But I'm blanking on his name. Country Boy Can Survive. First name's Matt. He fought Frank Trigg 3 times.
Yeah, Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes, right. So he I just watched that clip the other day of him taking that shot to the groin, not having the fight stop, recovering, running Frank Trigg all the way across the octagon and finishing him. Like, that was the heyday. But I think the very first fighter that I, no kidding, I was just like, holy crap, I wanna watch UFC all the time, or I really admire, was like Forrest Griffin. That Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner fight.
Yeah.
That got so many fight fans of watching that. I remember watching that. I was in the pipeline, and I had all the bros over to my house on base. We were locked down to base, and we watched that finale, and it was the most electric event of all time, because that fight, if you remember, it's for the title, it's for the Ultimate Fighter title, and then it was for the contracts as well.
6-figure contract.
6-figure UFC contract. And Dana comes in, he's like, you know what? We're not giving out one, we're giving out 2. Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin essentially just stood in the center of the ring, and they were like, I'm not moving, and we're just going to see what happens. And that was amazing. So I think those 2 dudes and that fight has to be up there. I've always loved the way George St. Pierre has gone about his business.
Yeah.
I think he really is the GOAT for a reason. I think he's probably one of the guys, real pioneers in the sport. He was doing things even with his training and his gymnastics and his wrestling and the way that he went about preparing for fights. I think George St. Pierre is probably up there as well, just because of his impact on the sport. The Diaz brothers, we were talking about it on text the other day. There's people that you love and people that you hate. I hate the Diaz brothers.
What?
For so long. I know, but you know what? And it doesn't make any sense. And for so long, I disliked the Diaz brothers, but I've completely changed my mind on the Diaz brothers as a whole. I just love their energy. They're just like,
yeah,
screw it.
Let's do it.
Watching Nate Diaz throw on that triangle and flip the double bird when he got it secured off his back, nasty, so good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a kind of like a rambling answer, but I'd say that's probably like a good group. There's other people out there. Today, I really do like Aljamain Sterling. I think Aljamain's a great fighter. I think there's Aaron Pico, huge fan of Aaron Pico. So he went over. He fights out of Jackson Wink now. The things Ngannou has done. Obviously, Stipe Miocic, best heavyweight that ever has ever done it.
Yeah.
Coming out of Cleveland, Ohio. Of course, I'm gonna support Stipe, but. There's and some of the women fighters are at, like, watching Nunez's run, watching Valentina's run. Like, who do they even fight? Do they just go to a catchweight? Do they just meet in the middle at 130 and hit that trilogy off? Like,
well, that's what we were talking about last night, right? After watching Valentina fight, it's like it wasn't even a struggle for her.
Well, and there's something to be said for, and I think to a point, like Usman did the same thing to Masvidal, right? Like, Usman could have wrestled Masvidal to death, but he decided to go hands with him and knock him out and play his game. Nunez has won. Like, Nunez stopped Cyborg via strikes. That's never happened in the first round.
Yeah.
In the first parts of that fight, just absolute beat her to death. And then she fought Megan Anderson. She fought Megan Anderson and she submitted her. everybody was like, the only way that Megan can win this fight is if she uses her jiu-jitsu to beat Amanda Nunez. And Nunez was like, oh, really? Watch this. Jiu-jitsu, ever heard of it? Check this out. And she submitted her. So when you see people, you look at Gordon Ryan right now in the grappling game doing the same thing. When you can write down the submission that you're going to hit and put it in an envelope and then go hit that submission in a world-class match and then open it up and be like, I told you I was going to do this. That's another level, dog. There's levels to this.
There's world-class and there's Gordon Ryan.
Get out of here. That dude, King Ryan. I love that guy because he's just straight up unapologetic because, man, if you want to go shut him up, go shut him up. Nobody wants to fight him.
Good luck.
And for good reason. Yeah, good luck. The whole Danaher death one. Who are your, like, UFC top 3 or who do you like?
So, like, just like you, right? I've been watching for a long time, so it's hard to narrow it down. But I do remember the first pay-per-view that I ever saw, live, so to speak, like when it was happening, not on a VHS tape years later.
Right. People forget about that. You had to go to Blockbuster and rent the UFC. I still remember that dumb yellow logo that they had.
Oh, so stupid. I mean, it was whatever. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I remember the first one I ever saw on VHS was pretty crazy. But I remember the pay-per-view was Frank Mir versus Tim Sylvia when he broke Tim's arm.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's crazy. So I've always had like a place in my heart for Frank. And especially when he came back and finally made it back and submitted, who's the Brazilian dude that had never been subbed before? The heavyweight that came up from Pride. It'll come to me later.
Nogueira?
Yeah, Nogueira. When he broke Nogueira's arm, I was just like, bro. Like, so Frank has always been there for me. And then, like, kind of like some random fighters, like Chris Lights Out Lytle. Like, people that I would tune in to see no matter what.
Yeah.
The dude was I think he was a firefighter as well, like Stipe. But like just like a brawler that was really good at it, like, and his jiu-jitsu game was on point. So, and then like Carlos Condit, always an action fighter, and then like Diaz Brothers. There's just like so many people though. Like you go back to like old school Shogun and Pride, and you're like that was savage. So.
Yeah, the Pride days were wild too, just absolutely wild. Or even like in that time frame, you were still, the world was trying to figure out what MMA, like mixed martial arts, was supposed to look like. You had Boz Rutan knocking people out with open hand palm strikes and like K1 and stuff.
Yeah.
K1 kickboxing for a while. Glory kickboxing. Shout out Whitney Miller. Some K1 kickboxing, Whitney Miller.
Damn.
On it, up the street. Yeah, she's an announcer up there, but she's part of the On It crew. But that entire era, like there were just so many good fighters and so many different promotions that you could go watch. It was crazy, and obviously, you'd be remiss if you didn't talk about the Gracie's impact on there, like Royce Gracie and the Gracie family. Just those first 10, Royce Gracie and Frank Shamrock fighting for 60 minutes blew people's minds. They were like, how can this happen? Having 5 fights in a night, fighting 4 times in a night, and then ending on a 40-minute, jiu-jitsu match, no holds barred, Vale Tudo, like insane.
Yeah, when Royce fought Chemo, right? And he beat him, but like it blew, like his CNS was gone. Like if you would have thrown something on him and checked it out, it's like this dude's dead. Royce is like, I got nothing left. I just fought a giant.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely. My favorite too is like one of those really early UFCs, and we laugh. We one of the deployments I went on the Morale Drive, they had like from UFC 1, so we would just for fun go back and be like, all right, we're gonna watch UFC 7. I can't remember which one it was, but one dude came out and legit had one boxing glove, and then his other hand was completely like free. Why, my dude? What are you doing? Like, he didn't want to wear MMA gloves. He just had that one big. It was like a 16-ounce like boxing glove.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to break his hard, power hand, I think. But he's like, oh, but I can also grab people with this hand, because it's MMA. So I don't know.
So dumb. It was the literal dumbest.
But like, that's like you go back and watch like the Forrest and Stephan fight, and you look at their technique, and you're just like, yeah, the technique doesn't hold up. They just slinging. But
well, can you imagine Tito Ortiz or like even Chuck Liddell? Like Chuck was kind of one of those first people that would hit you from weird angles. He had that backup left hand where he'd actually be moving backwards and he could knock dudes out. And he was a kickboxer by trade, but him and Tito, Tito was one of the first really high-paced dudes that could just go cardio for days and days and days. So that whole time was just interesting. And while you look back at it now, and you're like, man, the game has come so far.
Yeah.
So far.
I mean, yeah, like
we had guys getting heel hooked last night. The prelim fight, one of the prelim fights ended with a heel hook. Can you imagine somebody just ripping heel hooks and like weird Ashigami entries and 50-50s and Imanari rolls? Like, can you imagine a 10th Planet guy going back to like UFC 15 and just going to the ground?
Oh, Tony Ferguson would just be like subbing dudes all over the place.
Crazy. Or like Gio Martinez or Boogeyman, like any of those, Richie Martinez. Those dudes would be crushing people. They would just be tuning people up. It'd be wild.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same for everything, right? But it's just the sport is fairly new. So, like, we've got to see that massive evolution. And I think it's going to start slowing down at some point because now it's like, like little things like, oh, the calf kicks are hot right now. Like, oh, it's so hot right now.
So hot right now. They're so hot right
now. And, like, you don't see the legs very often. But I was talking about it last night. It's like, when was the last time you saw someone that landed a rear naked choke that wasn't in the transition? Because like early days,
right, yeah.
You'd get the back and then just work into a rear naked choke. Now, if you don't hit that like in transition and have it locked up, it's not a thing.
How crazy was that single arm rear naked choke from last night?
Yeah.
When he got that hand across and he started using his shoulder and using his head pressure, I was like, oh, wait a second, that might be tight. Like I was talking through it, my other PJ boy Chase was like, hey man, I don't know. He's like, he's got to get that hand up. He's doing a good job of hand fighting. He was like, no, I think that's tight.
Yeah.
I think that might be very tight. And then he ended up tapping to it. I was shocked by that. I was like, wow, look at that.
And Oliveira's a tough dude. So
he ain't no joke.
Yeah.
The Brazilian cowboy Oliveira.
Yeah.
100%. He's no joke.
It's a fun sport. So maybe we should do this MMA review every once in a while. Just go through, talk about Rich Franklin. Like, hey, back in the day, you could teach yourself how to fight and be a math teacher and be a champion.
Be a math teacher, yeah, 100%. Like Tom Hardy in Warrior. I never remember the actor's name that played opposite Tom Hardy. He was a great actor.
Joel Edgerton.
You're so good.
It's Joel something,
you're so
right?
Good at things. I think you're right. I think it might be Joel Edgerton, but we'll have to look it up. We'll fact check it, and then
I'm not looking it up.
When this comes out, I'm gonna put a card down here on the YouTube. And you'll be
We're doing it.
We're really doing it.
We'll go to like Joel Edgerton's like Wikipedia page. It's like, here you go. Fact check.
Mentioned by the Onesready crew. I'm going to put that one in on my own. I'm going to be like, Joel Edgerton, most famously, was mentioned on the Trent and Aaron episode of the Onesready podcast.
We should do our own fact checking on our own show and be like, this statement has been proven to be mostly false.
Mostly false by a simple Google check. That's what our fact checks are going to be, is we do the minimum amount of show prep necessary. Like, hey, I'm going to say some dumb thing. Did you even bother looking it up? Oh, you didn't?
Nah. Nope.
Absolutely not. No, I didn't.
I mean,
as a matter of fact check that, homie.
These
I don't know what to tell you.
These are great ideas. Like, this podcast is going to live forever. It's just getting better.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness that we're recording this so that we can go back and we have all these ideas. We should start a business.
Oh, or I'll look at, we'll watch it and we'll be like, what was wrong with us that day? I don't understand.
What were you even doing? Like, both of us were sober. There was no real excuse. Like, you're just doing dumb things.
It's how it goes.
Saying idiotic things. Yeah.
Well, I do have something like kind of serious I want to talk about. If you're okay, you want to settle down? Everybody good? All the non-MMA fans out there are like, why am I still listening to this? I don't care.
Yeah.
But you should care. It's better. It's the only sport that matters. Anyway, I think there's an impression sometimes. So we've brought on some guests that maybe we don't agree with everything that they say. So like, I just wanted to cover that because I know we get some comments and a few other things, and it's not like it bothers me, but like my goal is always to get as many voices on as possible, right? And hear differing opinions. Because like, I don't have like my own podcast for a reason, because I don't know everything, like, and I don't have like all the experiences in the world. So I think it's important to note to people sometimes, or to tell them, like, yeah, we're gonna bring on people that are gonna say stuff or have done things that we disagree with, and we're just gonna see what they have to say. But it doesn't mean it's not like a a promotion for them or any other thing. Like this whole like, why would you give them a platform? It's like, well, don't you want to hear what they have to say about it? Because I do.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know me, man, and for a peek behind the curtain, because this is more of like a behind the scenes for how we do stuff. I have a completely different view of how I engage on social media, and it gets me into trouble every once in a while. But I engage. If you talk to me online, that is exactly how I would talk to you in person. No more, no less. I do. People ask me. Sometimes people DM me and they ask me dumb questions, and I'm like, "Hey, this is kind of a dumb question. Are you telling me you couldn't figure this one out on your own?" And that doesn't necessarily translate the best online, right?
I think
All that being said,
40% of those questions come from me, by the way.
100%. So when we have somebody on, like, and you think about, Chief Bass, when you have, some of these other people on that have had controversy in their past, and there's been plenty of people that are like, oh, why'd you have this person on? My first reaction is like, hey, no one asked you to be here. You don't have to listen to this. You can go on. If you don't want to hear what they have to say, that's fine. Like, as a default, that's always what I say, right? But if we're going to go one level deeper, exactly like you, if I disagree with someone, I want to dig into that and be like, well, why do I disagree with it? Are they wrong? I have a completely different view of Chief Master Sergeant Bass than I did when I first heard, like, and obviously, like, we debated having her on and, going through the process of getting it cleared and, that whole thing. Like, I have a completely different view because we actually got to speak to Chief Bass.
Yeah.
And ask, like, hey, what happened? What's the deal? Tell us from your optic. And there was conversations that happened before and after we were recording, and I'm thankful that I actually got to talk to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't. People can feel however they want, but just I don't know. And I think it's the internet, and I think it's us being in that weird in between. We're not boomers and we're not millennials. We're like that exennial stage, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it described as, we grew up and we knew what it was like to not have a cell phone, not have computers, not have the internet, and then all of this stuff exploded into our realm and into our space, and now we deal with it all the time, and now it's just a thing. Like, we know kind of both angles, but I think today people are so quick. Like, having a discussion on the internet is not having a discussion on the internet.
No.
You're just saying stuff, and then you're trying to dunk on the other person. That's all it is.
That's stupid.
When you and I it is like when you and I talk. You talk, and I'm supposed to listen to you, and I'm supposed to go, okay, are they bringing up a good point? Okay, I don't understand what they meant by that. Let's clarify that, right? That's not me waiting. The people that argue that make me mad is you can tell they're just waiting for their time to talk. Like, you could be saying whatever you want, and the internet just breeds that. So we'll have somebody on the podcast, and the people are just out there, they're just like, this is the dumbest thing ever. How would you guys have that on there? Send. And you don't have any feedback. There's no discussion there. There's no, and then, God forbid, somebody like me in the comment section, because it's almost always me, surprise, everybody, of me being, what do you mean by that? Clarify your statement.
Yeah.
Stand behind what you said, anonymous person on the internet. Like, we're out here speaking on our real names. Like, I'm putting my real name out there and my real face out there, and I'm trying to be authentic with you, the internet people. And meanwhile, you got these anonymous accounts like 69420 #nicecat or whoever is commenting on this nonsense, and they're just saying the most vile stuff. And then when you comment back and you're like, hey, you realize you sound, and I'll get aggressive and just be like, you realize what you sound like? And then everybody's like, oh, you mad, bro? Oh, you mad? Oh, you shouldn't have engaged. Like, what is that? When did that become a thing that you're not even speaking on your real name? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the most frustrating part to me, is that the only thing that you can really do is completely ignore it. But that's not who I am in real life.
Yeah.
If you said that to me in a bar, we're gonna have a talk. Like, we're gonna talk about it. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be different.
Yeah. But the internet is a weird and dangerous place.
But I think that's the problem with our generation, is we do remember what it was like. I mean, I've talked to some of the guys at prep before, some of the students out of prep before, and been like, how many of y'all have been in fistfights? And the number of hands that goes up keeps going down and down. And I'm always like, how did you determine in your neighborhood who was who then? Like, it's just a different world. Because, like, I still remember that world, and I get the internet kind of. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you want to come over here and talk? Because you can come over here and we can chit-chat.
And it doesn't always need to be, a violence thing either. But it's like, hey,
Well,
there. Well, there's always that back end of it, but it's more like, there is a consequence for what you're saying. You don't just get to tippity tap send, and then you're protected by your anonymity and your physical distance and all this other stuff. Like, there's something to be said for standing in front of somebody being like, I disagree with you, and this is why. And if that other person feels disrespected, like, you better own your words. Like, you don't get to just say whatever you want. There was a penalty for that, right? And there was a funny meme that I saw is, and it had your classic, whoever that was mad about whatever in the streets yelling in somebody else's face. And it was like the people that have gotten used to yelling in other people's faces are the same people that haven't been punched in the face for doing it before. And like where I grew up in Northeast Ohio, like you spoke to other people respectfully, and because on the other side, like your mouth outran your brain a little bit, and somebody will hold you accountable for that. And I've been if you think I've never been punched in the head for some stupid things that I've said, like you don't know me very well,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason I don't remember things very well anymore, I guess.
Yeah, but it's just it's a weird space to be in, especially when we want to bring, like, I'm just like you, like, obviously, because we're bros and on the same podcast and stuff, but I want to bring those people on.
Yeah.
Like the more controversial, the better. Come on, let's talk it out. Like here's your chance. And there's big guests that we've had on that I've gotten off the podcast and been like, you speak for yourself, and that's what it is, and we don't agree. We're just gonna move on. Like, that's happened.
Yeah, which is fine. And then we're on here trying to like put out perspectives and see what clicks with someone else, because even though it might not be the right answer for me, there might be other people out there that would gain value from it. And that's all we're trying to do is to bring value to and perspective to other people in a concise format. You know what I mean? It's nice and easy for them, instead of them having to like follow 800 people on Instagram and then try to like hit them up in the DMs or whatever. Like, we'll just bring them on here and we'll chit chat. We'll see what we have to say. And like with going back to the anonymity thing, like I remember having students that were like, I could be an instructor. Like, it doesn't, like they start talking a little smack, and then you put them, like I did this with a guy. I'm like, okay, run this pull session, go. And it's like, you find out real quick it's different. So like it's easy to judge people that are in leadership type positions that have to put their face and their name out there and stand by their words and live by those consequences. Then it's much more difficult to be that than that anonymous person out there that just wants to bring it up over and over and over again, like they've never made a mistake, and they're throwing bricks in glass houses. But I get it, because I think we all had the same reaction after that one incident that affected our community, and I get it, and I had the same reaction. And then, but at a certain point, you're like, well, I'm not going to cancel someone forever. We all make mistakes.
I don't. The whole cancel culture to me is just wild too, and not to speak on society as a whole or whatever, because I don't think I'm that smart. But the whole point of what we do, especially in the military, like I always look at it like progressive discipline. Like the whole idea is to get somebody back on track and give them a path back.
Right.
To where they're supposed to be. And now everybody is like so wrapped up. Even my favorite like group of people right now is like the GWAT Trap Lord veterans, like dudes that were in from like 2005 to 2012, 13, 14, that like have like one or two deployments to Afghanistan, and they just shit on everything. Like the bro vets, they're just like, oh, you had your one deployment to Kuwait. Oh, I was in GWAT. Oh, blah, like they just hate everything.
Do they say GWAT like that? Like, I was in GWAT?
Oh, dude. My other favorite one is Goon. I'm a goon, bro. It's the Goon Squad. And it's like, if you remember, like, there were a couple dudes out there, like, moons out, goons out, bro. we're going to do this thing. And it's you look at it now, and it's just so cringy. And at the time, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, there's dudes that were going out and going on target every night and getting into getting into 3 gunfights a week for 9 months of your life. I got it, dude. That is a distinct thing. But you look at it now, and it's these guys that are just, guys and gals that are just completely bitter and, super duper vocal about how it is that they feel. And you're like, hold on, man. How are you different than every social justice warrior that you seem to hate? Like, you're just like, they're the first people to comment on stuff. Like, I got like there was this one account, this dude like posted a picture, and I was just like, hey, your flag's backwards. This guy went, he wasn't even in. He'd never even served. He was just like, you need to shut up. You're just so bro-vet, dude. Like, all this other stuff. I was like, hey, my guy, I just like the flag. All I'm telling you is, like, the way that you're wearing it, it's not supposed to be worn like that. That's all. Like, I don't care. He just went off. It's hilarious. I was just like, okay, man. Internet's a wild place.
Jeez. Yeah, we're bro-vets over here.
And I'm like, I get it. Like, it was a very distinct time, and I won't take anything away. They, my brothers, I always kind of bring this up, but I've got two little brothers, and each of them did an 18-month deployment in Iraq between 2005 and 2009 in like the Tikrit Triangle.
That's rough.
Both of that, like, you want to talk about going like, oh, bro, I was with this unit and we were kicking down doors every day. No, they were regular Army, 11 Bravo, clearing huge sections of downtown Tikrit in Iraq.
Yep.
For 18 months. And one of them was supposed to be there for 12 months and got extended for another 6. So imagine, and he didn't find out until like 10 months in. So imagine you're just like, oh my God, 60 more days. Really, I've only got 30 more days of patrols, then a couple more patrols, and I'm out of here, only to find out you've got 180 more days of doing that.
No, and, thanks.
Yeah, pass, right? But so, man, I get it, and I would never take anything away from it. But to turn around years later now is whatever it is that you're doing now. You know what I mean? Because like these guys are just, some guys are running companies, and some guys are, Twitch gamers, and some guys are, doing who knows what, and they're just like, oh, this is BS, and the military now is so soft. We get, how many questions have you gotten about, oh, is this new generation super soft? Are these guys like
yeah, I guess. Like
why are you asking that question? Like, why does it even matter? Like,
I don't know. I guess I'm soft compared to the generation that came before me. Like, but I don't care. Like, who cares?
Right. Like, if you go all the way back to like the 1800s, like dudes that were firing longbows at one another, lining up across the field, like shooting cannonballs full of fire at one another. I guess those dudes were harder than us too. I don't know. What are you talking about?
I don't know. That's weird. The thing is, though, like I know some like 11 Bravo Marine Corps infantry type guys that were doing the same thing, and yeah, some of them, it's just like any other group of people, right? Some of them were like, yeah, like that's what happened, and they, they'll talk about it if you need to, but they're not on the interwebs being like, I'm better than you because I was in Fallujah, and like, I don't know, trying to. It just seems weird though sometimes to like try to. Like you're profiting off so much death and destruction and all this other stuff, or trying to bring it up years later. It's like, guys, we all know, it's fine.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah, we were there too, oddly enough. But it's always funny because like those voices are like the loudest, and something that a couple of our guests have brought up, and Chief Bass most notably when she was on, she was just like, these people that aren't even in anymore, and they're out there just firing this up. Like I can't, blah 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 blah. Like, I mean. Some of the things that the chief said, hey, that's her own opinion, and she wanted to voice those. That's fine. That was one of those things that I was like, yeah, I kind of connect with that. I think you might be right on that one.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, you got to take your experiences and make them mean something, though. Not just yell about it for the rest of your life. You're not doing anybody any good. Like right. Turn it into like. There's so many people that have gone through the fire and it made them better people, and helped them be successful later on in life. And I think we talk about that, in regular team rooms on a pretty regular basis, right? Like the idea every once in a while someone will say something like, I think everybody should have to serve. But what they really mean is, my military experience has turned me into a better person, and I learned a lot. Like that's what...
And I think it could benefit everybody, right? Yeah.
Right.
That's how it comes out.
So...
Well, either way, I'm just excited. The VFW is going to be lit in about 15 years.
Oh, dude.
You get those dudes that are in their 60s... talking about the good old days of Afghanistan. What about Afghanistan shutting down?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, okay. I don't know. Like, I'm not one of those guys that's like, I took that hill and now you're just gonna give it back. Like, I've seen Vietnam. I get it. I know what's gonna happen eventually. So we're gonna leave.
Yeah. It's just it was a weird thing for me when that got released, and it has nothing to do, like I've been to Afghanistan a couple times, and had a couple deployments or whatever, and Afghanistan as a war, I don't even care to talk on it, but it's one of those things. It's just different. I've served every second of my enlistment in a time of war. We've been in Afghanistan since I got in.
Yep.
Like, to see that, September 11th of this year, that we're not going to be there anymore, I had a moment where I was just like, wow. Earlier this year, I actually met somebody that, no kidding, was not alive when 2001 happened, and they're in the military now. And they'd had a deployment to Afghanistan.
That's weird.
Like, we're not alive in 2000. Yeah, they were not born in 2001. They were born in 2002, or they were born in late 2001. I don't remember what it was, but they were not alive. They'd had a deployment to Afghanistan, and here they are, 20 years later, and they're a 19, 20-year-old dude. Like, that was mind-blowing to me. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you've been there. You roll up locals over there sometimes, and it's like, hey, why do you think we're here? Like, American imperialism. Like, they have their version of whatever, why we're there. And it's like, oh, everybody's not working off the same shit of music here, guys. Like, they've never heard of New York City.
Did anybody tell them? Did anybody think to tell these guys why we're... No? Nobody did? Huh.
It's interesting stuff.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, looking where we're going, this deployment for me has been, interesting and eye-opening, and, it's been one of those things where you're just like, holy cow, like, where are we going? What are we going to do? How is this going to change, and how is this going to look differently? So, wild times, man.
I don't know.
Wild times.
I just hope that soft generation is able to get it done, A bunch of babies out there.
Bunch of babies out there. And I'll tell you what, the second that I get out, I can't wait to have an anonymous meme page and make mean cartoons about them.
Dude.
Because it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I messed up. My Instagram page is my career field, so I feel like a certain sense of responsibility to not get crazy on it. So I need to just change the name so I can say whatever I want.
You're just going to have to get a different email, and then you're just going to have to, like, inside baseball jokes that we only understand, typically really, really mean. Like, the more, the more negative, the better. It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be good. You'll be wildly popular.
Oh, my goodness. I'm trying to come up with RQS jokes right now. I don't know.
It's the TAC-P at the RQS is currently the hotness. Like, if you can just make fun of the TAC-P guys at the RQS, you win. So, there you go.
Dude,
It's a race.
The meme culture got us through COVID, though. That's what I'm saying. The true heroes are the memers. Like, everybody's like, oh, nurses and doctors and all this other crap. I'm like, no. But did you make any memes? Yeah.
Did you make any memes, dog?
Yeah, I don't care.
Did you traffic in any of that currency at all? No. Okay, better figure it out,
Yeah.
dude.
You work 24-hour shifts? Cool. I need a meme. I need a meme for me to get through today.
Dude, we were at our spin up, and the guys, I was given a briefing. I was literally briefing something, and I picked my phone up afterwards. During my briefing, the guys had 2 memes about me. I was like, guys. Like, the group chat, we have way too many group chats, right? We got a Signal chat, we got a Telegram chat, we got a WhatsApp chat. The WhatsApp chat, because it's owned by China, the WhatsApp chat is straight up no work allowed. It's straight memes. When I see that WhatsApp notification come up, I just know right away. Like, as soon as I see that it's the troop WhatsApp chat, I'm like, oh no.
You like steal yourself?
Fire coming through. We got some fire coming up to the chat. Like, somebody's getting. And then the best is when you see like one dude and it's 5 messages from the same guy, and you're like,
Oh no.
Oh no, here we go.
Yeah.
It's over.
He's just dropping heat on it, the cluster bomb,
Just drop it. That's it. Fucking fire for effect.
Yeah.
That's it.
like-
You're over, son.
Maybe-
Congratulations, you made it to the group chat.
Maybe it's more like a 9-banger. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with the proper.
It's more like a 6-banger. Those are a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Wild, man.
I wish you were back here.
I'm excited about it. Have that. Do me a favor. Have all that COVID stuff figured out by the time I get back, because I would love to go to a concert. Love to have a meal. I'd love to not have to play any silly games when I get back home. So.
I know a state where you can do all that stuff right now. Just saying.
What about Florida and Texas though? Shout out to Florida and Texas. People are slowly starting to get there, like Nevada. opened all the way to back up. There, Mississippi, Missouri. There's a couple places that you're just like, it makes you proud to be an American. But like accepting risk and freedom, personal agency, are things that we, those are inherently American ideals. So it's good to see that.
Are you saying we're built on the concept of the individual? Is that?
That is exactly.
You are crazy. Yeah. I didn't say it on the last one. I forgot to say it, but I'm saying it now. You're out of your mind.
Personal agency and personal decision making as an individual, and well, I don't know, man. We'll figure it out.
I was telling someone last night, I was like, I can spend the rest of my life in Texas and Florida. Like, I'm going to Florida on vacation here in a few weeks, like, yeah, I'm good.
Why would you go anywhere else?
They're big states. I can spend the rest of my life exploring these places.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe South Dakota, because they never shut down, as far as I know.
No, South Dakota didn't either, and that's fine. Each state, like, that's the great thing. I was talking to one of the young guys about federalism. Like, it was a great talk about, hey man, the Constitution is written in such a way that each state gets to make its own choices for its own people, and if you don't like that, you can either try to vote the people out or you can just leave. The founding fathers had the foresight to actually go, hey, you know what? If you don't like these states, you can just leave. We're going to make laws specifically allowing you to leave these states. If you don't like it, you can go literally wherever else you want. You can just go choose. You know why? Because you're a free individual, granted unalienable rights.
Right.
You should go do that.
Yeah, and if you're on,
it was good.
If you're on the East Coast, it's like a 10-minute drive too. If I say that to someone in San Antonio, they're like, Mexico is so much closer than anywhere else.
I could get to the Gulf of Mexico before I could get to New Mexico.
Right, no, it's a 10-hour drive from here. It's crazy.
I have taken that drive so many times. It is 796 miles door to door, Albuquerque to San Antonio. I've driven that road a couple times.
It's not, yeah, there's some decent parts of it. I will say, like, when I'm going out to, like, Clovis, once you're, like, an hour out from Lubbock, and I'm like, okay, there's just Texas, nothing else to look at until I get there.
Those cows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amarillo, Lubbock, all the way through, even, as you're going, like, the southern part of New Mexico, you're going through, Roswell and whatever, like, there ain't nothing there, homie.
Dude, that I-10 corridor on the south end of New Mexico is the worst. Like, we don't stop in New Mexico. Like, when we're driving to California or whatever.
You can't. Nope. Just going straight
like,
to Arizona.
Yep.
Listen.
No stops till Tucson. All right?
That's it. 100%. Listen, there's nothing here but green chilies and some gas stations. And this is where they film The Hills Have Eyes, everybody. We're not stopping here. Bad. Hope you don't have to go to the bathroom.
Dude. And don't Google the cities on the exits, because there's only like 2 cities that you go through. You do not want to know about those places, because you're like, I'm just gonna.
The first thing that pops up is the crime blotter.
Yeah, I can clean out my car. Like, I'll just keep going. Just let her rip.
I can get this upholstery cleaned literally anywhere.
Yeah. There's a hose it out. It's fine.
Just hose it out.
But I'm not stopping there. Don't.
Oh, hey, I just picture you rolling up to somewhere in, car detailing place in Tucson, Arizona, and you'd be like, came from Texas, did you? Didn't want to stop in New Mexico? Yeah, I got it. Come on.
It's like Terminator 2.
Stop in Hatch, New Mexico.
I'd be like, I need your shirt, your belt, your pants, and your boots. All right, and also clean out my car.
And also, I got some bad news about the state of affairs in my back seat right now.
Yep. Anyway, kids, pro tip, don't stop there. It's just letting you know.
I lived there. I got 4 years of my time in the land of enchantment. Who knows? I might have more in my future, but I know exactly where not to stop.
Yep. It's a dangerous game.
Yeah, it really is. Well, my friend,
I feel like
get another TNA in the books.
We learned a lot on this episode. We're kind of all over the place.
We really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. We covered a lot of ground. We talked about everything from MMA to our distinctive love of pooping in cars because you want to avoid stops in New Mexico.
Dude, before we started this one, I was like, Trent, don't bring up poop again because you already ruined the last podcast.
Oh my God. It's the most ridiculous. Don't say mole. Don't say mole. Unable. unable to get away from it. I feel so bad. The only person I feel worse for than anybody, like just in general, is just Nikki.
Wow.
Because poor Nikki has to edit this, and she has to listen to us, and the whole time she's just like, "These guys are idiots. They're idiots."
Dude, we're gonna be like, "Hey Nikki, you got that episode done?" She'll be like, "It's in the trash." I'm like, no, it gone.
For your own protection and to protect Onesready as a brand, I deleted it. And at that point, both of us just be like,
I couldn't even be mad.
probably the right call, yeah. That's probably the right call.
I appreciate you protecting us. I need an adult.
Well, we definitely need an adult. Definitely.
No.
All right, my friend. Well, it's nighttime here, so quick shout out to everybody that likes and follows and comments and does all that stuff on the YouTube and the Instagram, both on Trent's page and mine. So I just want to say thanks. I love these little sessions, these little TNA moments.
These are fun, and we're gonna start doing the. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out how we're gonna get one-on-ones with the other guys too. So
yeah, we just have to badger him into it. Brian is way too busy. Him and his whole tribe, and then his work. Like he's way too busy. But Peaches, I think you can just shame him into it.
Yeah.
Just basically, just straight up, just make fun of him for a couple days, and then let him stew on it, and then poof.
A little bit of poison. That's it.
A little bit. That's it.
I'll tell him.
Things come in small packages, but so does poison.
So does poison. I'll be like, bro, those EPRs, they're just not that important. Come on. But
They're not that important.
I was thinking maybe if Brian and Peaches did their own, and then we could like have a little rivalry going on where we just do these and we just talk mad crap about each other the whole time.
You can have like A shift and B shift, like every other deployment. Be like, A shift never cleans up. They never put water back in the fridge. These guys are. I hate A shift. Like those are your best friends.
Oh yeah.
You deploy with them and then you immediately hate them.
Yeah.
Oh, these day shift guys are terrible.
I hate that dude. Like I've deployed with like my best friend before, and we were stuck in one place. And yeah, there were times where we just wouldn't talk to each other. I'm just like, we're not talking today, bro.
There are a couple CCAT dudes, like critical care, air transport guys. So there's a whole team down here, and they're kind of sharing our spaces for right now as they figure out where they're going to actually live. And it's funny because I was talking to one of their younger guys, and I was like, sometimes you're just like, can you not breathe like that? you have to breathe? Can you just not breathe like that?
Dude,
I was just trying to explain.
You slurp your coffee one more time, I'm going to slap it out of your hand and put your head through that wall. Yeah.
One of the guys, another army dude that's here, he looked at me and he goes, Aaron, if the things that you said were cards, and I could take a card from you, I would take the card that says nerd on it, and I would never give it back to you. And I was just like, okay, Steve, that's good input. Because that was his passive aggressive way of telling me, but I say nerd too much.
Stop saying nerd, bro.
He just doesn't like it.
I like his strategy though. Like that's yeah, he's smart. That's creative.
I'm not mad at it. It's good.
My stack of cards for words keeps coming down. Anyway, I'm getting dumber as I get older.
Less and less cards.
All right.
All right, man. Well, another one in the books.
Hey.
Follow Trent over at Special Reconnaissance. Follow me. I went private, so now you gotta meet one more gate with me. Yeah, AM Love 212000 on Instagram, and as always, follow Onesready. Hit us up, DM us, send us an email, shout out, comment in the YouTube section, whatever you got, and we'll get back to you.
Badger us.
TNA in the future.
Badger us into making more shirts and flags. That's the only way to get it done.
That's it. We got them. We got some heat coming for you. I think we're figuring it out. So.
Ooh, stay tuned. All right.
All right, y'all.
Later, brother.